Hello everybody, it's Book It Vince. You know what that means. Welcome everybody to the only wrestling dream match podcast on the internet. I'm one of your hosts, Martin Bennett. With me, as always, is the exalted one, Anthony Hall.
Oh man, I can't possibly live up to that moniker. But thank you. Yeah, man, here we are. We're recording some episodes for I guess our 2021 drop. But
Yes.
we're recording them. Today is New Year's Eve. But
it's the day. It's going to be a little bit more of a somber tone. It's the day after the AEW tribute show to Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, or as his government name, Jon Huber, the family man, the incredible wrestler, and just from all the stories that we've heard over the past week, just one of the best human beings that ever lived, sadly passed away. And I figured that what would be a better dream match to do than one that kind of everybody in the wrestling community thought was going to happen. And so we're going to do that today. And we're also just going to use this opportunity to remember and as a tribute to Brodie Lee, because, we didn't know him personally, obviously. It would have been amazing to know him personally. But, just as fans, it's a thing where this person gave their time and energy to entertain millions of people. And, it's hard to say that it means something. It means a lot to you as a viewer and as a fan, but it really does. And I feel so bad for all the people that knew him personally as a friend or for his family, because, we don't really talk about anything personal on this podcast, but I'll just say this. Earlier in halfway through 2020 in June, I lost my mother to cancer. And so I related a lot to the experience that I'm sure everybody's feeling, losing someone that close to them. And so, but all we can do as fans is, just remember him as the performer and for the hours of entertainment that we got from him. And so this is as much as we could do is just to make an episode for those that are listening to entertain them like he entertained us, and do our best to carry on his memory.
That's right. And they say like a person doesn't leave this earth truly until they're forgotten and people don't talk about them anymore. And I feel like for Mr. Brodie Lee, that's not going to happen. He was such an amazing performer and had incredible characters through the two biggest promotions in wrestling right now. So, exactly. To echo off of what you were saying, all of the stories that we've heard so far, all of the sort of like accounts of who he was as a person outside of these amazing characters that we've grown to love, were really touching. And we saw that last night with the show, the tribute to Brodie Lee, Dynamite. What an amazing show that was.
One of the best episodes of wrestling I've ever watched in my life. It was obviously, it was so emotional and so touching, and there wasn't a lot of storytelling, but just the fact that they kept it to be a wrestling show. And there was still some stuff in the works there. Obviously, you still had MJF being a piece of crap, and and you had Eddie Kingston still, moving along with his stuff, and Team Taz and all that stuff. But it was such a good, like Tony Khan and the Rhodes family just putting everything together for his family to, immortalize Brodie Lee's memory. And then also to give the opportunity to the Dark Order and all the other members like the chance to shine as main eventers, and they all proved that they could.
It was so amazing to watch. Our internet darling, John Silver, Johnny Hungy.
John Silver destroyed me.
He was like really, really great in the match, and obviously with heavy hearts. You know, he went out there and wore the mini Brodie Lee gear, and you could just really see emotions going through.
When
everybody
after the 10 bell salute at the beginning was so touching, and it's always such a honorary sign of respect to do that. But then as soon as the first match started, and it's like, okay, you got Matt Hardy and Private Party come out, cool, you got the Young Bucks come out. As soon as Dark Order came out, and you just see Colt Cabana having to be that first person to to do it, and you can see them all just holding back as much as they could, and that was the moment of, oh man, this is gonna be a rough ride. But it was so touching, and it was so sweet, and all the amazing words that a lot of the other wrestlers said, like Moxley's promo, that was he's one of the best talkers, and even though I'm sure that wasn't easy for him because he's not that personal or personable of, I don't even know if there's a real word. He doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. He's not that open, to talking about his emotions on camera and stuff. But that was such a sweet moment. And then even Darby opening up and everybody giving their little tributes and whatnot. It was so good. So good. Go watch it.
I think and every time each member of the Dark Order held up the hand, it was just it got me. And
just in little moments.
When Eric
showed up.
I
was screaming. Screaming. I was just like, oh my God, they did it. That was so nice of them to do that.
I marked out like crazy, and then at the end of the match when he held up his little cue card with the message, I cried. I really, really cried. It was such an emotional experience. I think just as a fan, watching that moment, it was just so crazy to to feel it. Really, really feel it.
But so what we figured we'd do for this episode is I didn't want to just do a dream match. This is my pick. This is my week to pick a dream match, and I didn't want to just do whatever random one that would have happened. I wanted to do one that I was genuinely really looking forward to, and it's sad that it didn't get to happen. We're about 10 minutes into this episode of the podcast, but if you like what we do here every week, we book dream match. We challenge each other to book dream matches of wrestlers that either will never get to wrestle each other or could wrestle each other, but maybe the match will never happen. Crossovers between AEW and WWE, legends coming back, or putting current stars back in past wrestling feuds. And this week, I decided that we will do the feud that was probably going to happen. We don't know for sure, but it would have been incredible if it did. It is Brodie Lee versus Hangman Adam Page. Just before we get deep into it, if you like what we do here, please follow, subscribe to the podcast, and check us out wherever you get your podcast from, and check it out on YouTube as well. So you
can see all of our amazing effects, our practical Zoom effects, including my backgrounds that I can now do because my roommate painted a wonderful blue wall in our apartment for self-tape purposes. But now I can actually use it as a green screen.
I need to get something like that.
We also wear fun T-shirts. I think mostly me because I just own too many wrestling T-shirts, and today I have my Okada Rainmaker shirt on, courtesy of my buddy Braden.
That's cute.
Yeah, and
did you order the Brodie Lee tribute shirt?
Yeah, we're putting in like my buddy Braden and I are doing a big old pro wrestling tees order at some point in
Oh
time
yeah.
here. So, yeah, there's a couple of nice designs. The specific Brodie Lee tribute shirt is like, and there's like a lot of print going on. I don't know how much I'll like wear it like regularly, but like it'll
Yeah.
be nice to have.
And also all the proceeds to that shirt go to his family, which
That's right.
I was like, of course everybody's going to order that shirt. Why wouldn't anybody want to help out that way? But so let's get into it. Brodie Lee versus Hangman Adam Page, and the reason for this one is because it was kind of what everybody was speculating. You know, if you at all watch BTE, which if you don't, and we tell you every time we talk about AEW, you need to watch BTE because it's the best ever. And that's where, like, honestly, like I fell in love with Brodie Lee because he was just so damn funny, and there, that's where I think, like, I saw a lot of people posting over this past week about his career through the years, and a lot that was a regular occurrence was working with younger guys to highlight them, and working with Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family, working with Eric Rowan, and then I know back in early days in he worked with Cesaro, he worked with a lot of guys, but working with the Dark Order, on BT, it wasn't just that Brodie then brought them all up, but on BT he put them all over so much. And I know that it definitely means a lot to all of them because they've all posted very nice messages, basically being thankful for helping them shine, and like propelling their careers into the limelight. But like on BTE, there was slowly becoming this thing of them. Well, since Brodie got there, they've been trying to recruit Adam Page, and there's this moment early on when Brodie Lee came to AEW that it's a really quick segment of them being backstage is Brodie and Hangman says, "Hey, so I went to your website and I signed up, but I didn't hear anything." And Brodie's like, "What?"
Yeah.
and then he's like, "Yeah, I didn't hear anything, so I don't know, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be." And Brodie Lee starts getting so mad, and then he finds John Silver and Alex Reynolds and Uno, and that's where the paper throwing starts becoming a thing, throwing papers in people's faces. And like that was the initial thing of like Hangman joining the Dark Order, and then it's been teased throughout the years, or throughout the months.
It feels like years. I mean,
feels like years.
Time is an absolute construct that we
so Zoom cut out there for a hot second, and it stretched your voice out, and it went, "Time is a construct." It was the perfect timing.
We are keeping that in the episode.
But it was just the whole thing of that Hangman is going to join Dark Order. In the past couple of months, or past couple of weeks, it was even more apparent of like they set up Cowboy Day for Hangman, and then they wrote a Christmas Carol for Hangman on the Christmas episode.
And on Dynamite and stuff, they've been teaming together. Like Reynolds and Silver have been teaming with Hangman, and it's kind of I suppose to sort of lead to something new post Omega Hangman. They have inserted him into this Dark Order storyline, and I guess we could carry forward from there. I mean, we're gonna assume that Brodie gets to carry this story forward.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was, in real life, Brodie Lee lost the TNT title to Cody in the dog collar match, and after that, apparently he was supposed to, and this comes from Tony Schiavone's podcast, What Happened When, which is a very interesting podcast, by the way. It's him and someone, I forget who the other host is. It's them weekly watching every episode of WCW and then talking about it. And so
That's insane.
they're just going through every single episode of WCW and talking about that episode and the matches and what happened when. But so on the latest episode, Tony Schiavone kind of talked about what was happening, and turns out that Brodie was supposed to come back maybe 3 weeks after, but then in that time found out that he was very sick, and why he hasn't been around, why he wasn't around,
Right.
But the whole speculation was that, what is it? Brodie's main thing always was that he was the big monster heel, and he only ever lost twice in AEW.
Right.
He lost to Jon Moxley in their title match, and he lost to Cody for Cody to regain the TNT title. He was
black hair Cody.
Yeah, which was fun. I don't know if he was supposed to, the idea was he's going to come back as a heel, maybe. I don't know. It was weird. But the whole idea was that that Brodie is the guy who you build up as the big bad, and then at the final chance, the good guy beats. He's the final boss. Yes. And so the theory was that was what was going to happen to Hangman, was that Hangman might join, Brodie would come back, they would feud, and then build it up so that Hangman would look super strong. He'd get over this hump of kind of this depressed run that he's going on, and he would be at the pinnacle of maybe then the next step would be going against Kenny for the AEW championship. So that's kind of where it ended up. People sort of speculated and theorized, but that was sort of what everybody assumed the plan was going to be. So then I guess the whole thing would be, he loses the championship. What then? How then what would his return have been like?
Okay, so
because we have Hangman kind of teaming with Reynolds and Silver. He's in there. On BTE, they're starting to get more friendly, and I guess then it's okay, does Brodie show up and immediately turn on Hangman, or
no,
does
no,
it
no, no. I don't think so.
Does it permeate and he brings him in and then turns on him?
I think what we should do would be, he comes back and he's he's very impressed that Silver and Reynolds have managed to coerce Hangman into at least hanging out with the Dark Order. So from there, I think in the same way that Brodie kind of trotted Colt Cabana around, when in that initial Dark Order courting process, I think that would probably happen on a few episodes of Dynamite in a row, where after Brodie returns, he would try hanging out with Silver and Reynolds and be ringside and watch them absolutely murder SCU or something like that.
Yeah, and they would tag team together, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Brodie and Hangman, they'd tag team together, and then Brodie would try to the same thing that he did with Colt, where he's no, you get the pin, and it makes the whole run with Colt was so funny, because it was sort of no, Colt, don't, they're a cult.
Yeah,
but it was the thing of Colt Cabana even said I haven't lost since I've been with Dark Order, so
yeah. That's really funny that if you. Yeah, I think it's you trot him out and you say okay, you have all of the members of the Dark Order to medal and like make sure that he wins as well.
Yeah.
And Hangman, of course, would slowly regain his confidence that he's lost, being incredibly violent alcoholic and depressed sad boy over the weeks.
Millennial cowboy.
Millennial cowboy. I think you have a moment possibly.
I mean, basically it would be on TV on Dynamite. They'd just be having matches and they'd be winning. On BTE, it's hard. I don't think anyone could dream book BTE.
I don't know if we could even try to do that.
But I imagine it would just be more and more like Hangman getting in the good graces and sort of still being on the edge. I don't think Hangman would ever 100% commit. Maybe at like the very last second, and that's where the turn happens. But I think he would just be very reluctant the entire time. But it's kind of just like I feel like this is not the right choice. But like all good stuff is happening, so.
Yeah, exactly. I think Adam would like feel as if things are turning around now that he's a part of the Dark Order. And in the same way that Colt was like, I haven't lost yet. Like maybe this is the right move. So I think now we have to set up a loss, right? We have to set up.
Yeah. But I mean, like the different matches, I mean, it's a cool thing. Like you can book pretty much like any good match where I think Silver and Reynolds and Page is such a good trio because like, you're just wanting like, Reynolds and Silver are both really, really great performers and they're both really good at like Reynolds is really good about being in there and getting the one who's like getting the crap kicked out of him and then going for the hot tag. And you're just sitting there and you're like, I want Hangman to get the hot tag. I want him to get in there and go crazy. And so that trio is really, really good. And who knows, maybe, I mean, there's been tease about that in AEW, they're going to bring in trios titles. And so maybe that could have been a run.
Has been speculated.
Of like Hangman, Silver, and Reynolds like going for the trios titles if those were ever to come about. But then you could even have combinations of like Hangman with Stu and Uno. You could have Hangman with 5 and 10. You could have Hangman and Brodie team together. So there's a lot of chances for just everybody.
I think Brodie and Hangman will set their sights on the tag team titles because like I think that would be smart
and have them go against the Bucks.
Yes, but also like as they ascend to like to become the number one contenders, they'll meet a bunch of other teams like FTR and stuff like that. Private Party and the Acclaimed. There is definitely a moment there where can
I just say
Max Caster.
Can I just say it was very cathartic watching as soon as the Acclaimed came out last night on the tribute show. I just went, please everyone kick the shit out of them.
Please kill him.
I didn't want any. It was like, what bullshit are they gonna be like? Oh, I'm gonna battle rap some shit about dissing on Brodie, and I was so happy that was immediately Colt just double bionic elbows them, and fucking SCU comes out, and I was like, thank God.
I was absolutely dreading it. I think I'm starting to come around on them. Obviously, I was incredibly annoyed the first time they debuted. I think they have potential to generate really awful heel heat when more people are allowed, because like the freestyles are they just make me want to scream. Yeah. And I'm sure in our fantasy world, in our fantasy booking, that Max Caster would rap about Hangman not being a loser and needing the Dark Order to win, and
They'd
how
probably make some like Brokeback Mountain joke and everybody would boo them because why would you fucking do that? But, you know.
Yeah, it would be like, Hangman, you found yourself in a sitch, but you're just a Dark Order baby bitch. It's like some kind of awful.
They say something about Silver being the meat man, and that plays into it, and Johnny Hungy, but you know, say some. They'd probably then try to say something shitty about Reynolds, and then they get the crap kicked out of them.
Yeah, Hangman's a sad cowboy, just keeps drinking, walks in the ring and just keeps stinking. Oh, Max Caster. Whoa.
Jesus. All right. But yeah, I think going on a run of just like all these matches, building up his confidence, and then he really thinks so, but then like you could have either promo moments on Dynamite or mostly in BTE where it's like people being like, Hangman, are you sure? Like, are you really like, you know, like just kind of trying to convince him otherwise. And he's like, no, I'm not officially in. Like that was a big thing last night was like Colt, like, if you watch back, and they kind of mentioned this, like Colt Cabana has never officially done like the Dark Order hand thing.
Yeah, the claw.
And last night he did it. Like
he did the claw.
He did it like emotionally official. Like I'm sure it's like an emotional thing and a tribute, but like that's a big character thing. And you notice that Hangman did not do it at all. Even like the Bucks and even like a bunch of other people like did it as like, you know, tribute. But like Hangman did not do it at all last night. And so like that could be a thing of like he's, you know, he's not official. He hasn't officially joined and all that stuff.
And I think after every subsequent win, you see the different members of the Dark Order being like, are you going to do it? Like you see like, you know, Silver and Reynolds are probably kind of flanking Hangman on each side, and they like put it up, and then they like kind of look like,
like Hangman's like, are you gonna do it?
And Hangman is just, I think he would tease it like a couple times.
Yeah. And so then that leads to like them really trusting him, and then I think them having those tag team matches like leading all the way up to it. And then Brodie comes back. Would Brodie then feud with someone else? Could he come in and feud with like Darby?
That's a good question.
Or is it that he comes in and, well, I guess this is like one of my first questions was like, does he come in and feud with Hangman right away? But we said no, we'd like them to tag. We'd like them to kind of team up a little bit. But would Brodie come in with the intention of like, no, we're going to be a team. Like, good on you guys for getting him. We're going to be a team. Or would he come in and be like, let them sort of keep like milking him? That sounds gross. Enticing him and while going off on his own thing, and then that leads to him then turning on Page, or is it just strictly the tag team thing and then?
Well, I think if he comes back, he would have to, I think, try to get one more, like a rubber match or whatever against Cody for the title. Like theoretically, let's say that Cody has the title still and he hasn't dropped it to Darby. Does that make sense, or should we?
No, I really like. I think it would. I mean, they could easily feud just because they want to settle the score there. I think that would just be fine in itself. It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be for the title.
No. So.
Okay, so I think he would try to terrorize Cody as he comes back, but like once he notices that Hangman is close to joining, he kind of shifts his focus from terrorizing the Nightmare Family to trying to get the official Hangman admission into the Dark Order, or
he could even then have Hangman face Cody. If they Hangman and Cody have never had a match in AEW.
This is something. Are you sure?
I'm pretty dang sure.
Let's go to the computers, fellas.
I'm pretty sure.
Let's do the research. You'll hear the furious clacking of our keyboards.
I mean, no, like I'm sure they probably had matches
as we try to find it.
You sort of roboted out there for a second, but I think you're good now. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they definitely had feuds in Japan, but in AEW they have never faced off against each other. So that would be pretty cool. Is like Brodie sets up Hangman to go against Cody.
Yeah.
Then maybe he fails.
Yeah.
And then Brodie beats the shit out of him.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe. So I think, yeah, that's a great idea. Is like, so we were talking about them eventually challenging maybe for the tag title, but what if they actually fail to become the number one contenders for the tag title, and then Brodie's like, okay, well maybe us teaming together is not right, but I can use you to exact revenge on Cody, so we can come back to that, right? Because if he comes back and he's trying to terrorize Cody, but then notices like, oh, Hangman and me should team together, and then he can join the Dark Order, and then they team, but then they fail to get to that apex of being the number one contender and challenging, and then he's like, okay, fine, but I'll use Adam to now terrorize Cody again because I haven't forgotten about that dog collar match and him winning the title. Mm-hmm. So then, yes, he gets Tony Khan to book Cody versus Hangman. And then, yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, Hangman loses because when you face Cody and you're a heel, you will always lose. unless you're Mr. Brodie Lee, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because like Cody always fucking wins. Like I love him. Great. I love Cody Rhodes. I love the American Nightmare. But sometimes
he's gonna be the biggest heel whenever he decides
when he
to
turns.
turn. Whenever he turns.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the biggest draw. He's the most loved by fans. So it only makes sense. But
his white meat babyface type energy, and so I think like Cody obviously beats Hangman in this scenario, and Brodie Lee would go in, and I think it would
definitely be close though.
Yeah. It
wouldn't be a squash. It would definitely be close.
I think the buckshot lariat gets like dodged, and Cody jumps up, hits a disaster kick onto Hangman, and he's dazed, and then crossroads 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's probably the finishing spot. Yeah, and then you see Brodie Lee slide into the ring. Everybody, all the Dark Order like comes out from the back, and they're standing kind of in that line, the classic Dark Order line. And Brodie Lee picks up Hangman, and you're like, okay, well, that's what you would do to one of your loyal disciples. You would bring it back up. Yeah, exactly. So it's
picks him up. It's okay.
You're picking one of your disciples. It's okay.
Hangman's sorry, and then just
he's like, I'm sorry.
Wham.
Yeah, and then he just spins around, bap. And then
even the Dark Order is all shocked. They're just like they can't believe it. And then this is kind of where it's like, no, he is the big bad. Like everybody's starting to like really are in love with the Dark Order.
Mm-hmm. So
but
and
this
I
is
think
where he becomes the big bad, and he forces his guys to take out Hangman, even though they might not want to, because they're like, no, but we've been friends for the past couple months,
Yeah, I think Uno is like yelling at like Silver and Reynolds to like attack, and
Yeah.
he's like, go, like you like support Mr. Brodie Lee. You have to beat him. You have to beat Hangman up, and they're just like, oh, no. And but then eventually they are coerced, and they submit.
Yeah. And then I think this leads to a sort of climb the tower storyline of he goes against 5. He goes against 10. He goes against Reynolds, Silver. He goes against Uno. He goes against Stu. All leading up to
Final boss.
Yeah.
It's a classic trope of wrestling booking that we've used many times already. But it makes sense here. It does really make sense here.
Yeah, when it's a group like that, it's like that's what you got to do is
yeah.
It just will slowly propel Hangman into like everybody getting behind him, everyone wanting him to win.
Yeah.
And hopefully up to that main event status of eventually
I think it's also like
Kenny.
and it's also like a redemption arc, I think, as well, because in the time that it took Hangman to sort of get comfortable with the Dark Order, he's been wrestling against all these people who are once his friends, once his allies, and he's when you ally with the Dark Order, you're essentially casting your friends aside and joining this cult, right? So like he has to slowly earn their trust back as he's beating all of these members of the Dark Order. You probably see a match where it's like we probably have some sort of early 3-man action where it was Hangman, Reynolds, and Silver versus SCU. But then Hangman teams with SCU to face Reynolds, Silver, 5 and 10 or something like that. And then it's like they crush them, obviously, and then Hangman is like, oh, okay, like you guys, SCU, you like me again, right? And they're like, yeah.
Winning back everybody's trust, essentially. And maybe it's like the Bucks are like unsure. Cody is more forgiving. But it's leading to it's all just leading towards the final boss battle, which I then think like you got to stack the odds against Hangman, and it's it's essentially sort of copying like Cody versus Brodie, but I mean it's a very classic wrestling trope. It's what a big man's job is. Like classic big men are there to win, and then lose at the last moment to put over the babyface.
Yeah, and I think in this like tour of redemption and tearing through the Dark Order, Hangman is working towards challenging Kenny, right? So I think you get a match on Dynamite that's like a very important match in terms of the rankings of where it would leave Hangman in terms of like the people he has to get through to get to Kenny. So I think he like has to face somebody like Lance Archer or like somebody from Team Taz, like maybe Brian Cage, because like they would be kind of on the outskirts of challenging Kenny, right? So you would have him against one of those guys, and that's when Luke Harper, oh my god, all the characters are mixed together. And then that's when Mr. Brodie Lee would interfere with the Dark Order, because after all the shenanigans, like it's like, oh, like where has Mr. Brodie Lee been? I think he would have to cost Hangman this big match that would help propel him to number one contendership, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
So he comes in, I think, major shenanigans.
I think, it's a thing of like, you definitely have to stack the odds against Hangman. And so the way that they did that with Cody was they had the dog collar match.
Yeah.
And the only thing that pops into my mind that would be like Brodie versus Hangman and make it just devastating, but make Hangman have to fight back and have to really like push himself is like either a strap match or a Texas bull rope match.
Well,
Fits into
one of these wrestlers is a cowboy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Fits into the cowboy thing, and it's like a Texas bull rope match. I mean, the last time that we saw one of those was Eddie Guerrero versus JBL, and that was a bloodbath. That was a bloodbath. But
let's do it, right?
I mean, both are essentially the same. It's that it's sort of the same as the dog collar match. I mean, it's you're tied together. But instead of the dog collar match where you're tied together at the neck, this one is you're tied together by the arm.
Yeah, it's like a wrist thing, right?
You either have the leather strap in a strap match, or you have in the Texas bull rope matches, it's a rope, and then in the middle of it is a cowbell. And like that was famously like used. That's why JBL used it against Eddie Guerrero. And it was just a brutal match. And it's like, it makes sense. You could have like Brodie come out and like order like Uno to give him the rope, and he just starts choking out Hangman and starts just destroying him and tries to like hog tie him even. Like
even before the match starts, right? Like so the members of the Dark Order
like Brodie interrupts Hangman's match. And then they're just beating the crap out of him, and that's where he brings out the rope to like.
Yeah, I like that.
Because with the dog collar match, the whole thing was like, trying to instill fear, and it's like, that whole thing was like, was calling Cody a bitch, and so then he's saying like, I'm gonna make you my bitch by putting you in a dog collar and blah blah blah. But this one is like. It can just be like,
he's trying to tame this horse, this wild horse, right? He's trying to.
I was thinking that Brodie would be like, you want to do real cowboy shit?
Oh, I mean that works too. But the metaphor is he's trying to tame this stallion, of course, and that's why he brings out the rope, because it's like this horse has just ran too far away from. The ranch, the Dark Order ranch.
Or so it could be like you think that you're a wild stallion, but I'm gonna tie you up and prove to everyone, I don't know, that you're just a pig or something. I don't know, some sort of metaphor.
You're just a pig.
We'll like hog tie him up or like tie him up. Or, something like that, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I think that just
you're right.
It gives it the then gravitas of, how does Hangman overcome this giant man who never loses, plus the ability to not be disqualified in a horrific gimmick match of being tied together, using the rope on someone, using the bell on someone. It's like you're fighting a bear with a gun.
Yeah.
It's truly. Not just that you're fighting a bear. It has a weapon as well now, too. So that's why like the dog collar match was so successful, and why like this type of match would be as well, because it's the cards are stacked against him. How does he overcome it? And I mean, it would just be a brutal goddamn match.
Yes.
But then like, and Hangman's not the type for promos. Like Hangman never really ever cuts promos ever, but Brodie's promo before it, I could just imagine it would be like just cutting him down and just bringing all those things of like turning on your friends, just being a drunk cowboy, not ever making it, not ever going to make it into this business.
Yeah, and I think he definitely would mention like everything that they've poured into Hangman, right? It's like, it's like we've given you everything. You could have had it all, but you just couldn't cut it. You are always going to be a second-rate cowboy. It's like,
well, you're gonna be a second rate. You're never gonna be a main eventer. Since your first match in this company, you've been a loser.
Yeah.
You know, he lost to Jericho and he didn't get the AEW title. And
Exactly.
Everybody was like, oh, Hangman, he's going to be our number one guy. And it's like, and since that day, he's kind of just been nothing against him. They're building a great story with Hangman to eventually. Yeah. But
when he wins, it will be crazy, which is what we're kind of setting up in a way here.
For sure.
But it's like, yeah, I think Mr. Brodie Lee is like, I hate to admit that I'm wrong, but I thought I saw something in you, but you're just a loser. Mm-hmm. And you always will be a loser. And I'm going to tie you up. I'm going to take you to the back, and they're never going to see you again. We're going to make you into glue.
You're going to join Hunter Horse Helmsley. Did you know that Hangman had a horse and it was named Hunter Horse Helmsley?
I think I've heard this before. Yeah. He's like, you should, yeah. He just like really cuts him down.
We're going to turn you into glue. I love that. We're going to
turn you into glue.
Send you out to pasture and
yeah, exactly. But the match will be so crazy. Like, just thinking back with the dog collar match, like it was so hard hitting. Just like the way that the weapon was manipulated. And
I can imagine a moment of like Hangman going for the buckshot lariat and then just Brodie just pulling the rope and him just like trying to do a flip and then just being pulled into the mat and like just it'd be very classic wrestling because Hangman's style is very it's very well grounded. He does a few dives here and there, but he's very well grounded in his style. And Brodie was just the biggest hard hitting dude, but he was agile at the same time.
Yeah, he's fast. He's really fast for being a giant dude. Like just like the shoulder tackles and
and that was cool about watching last night in the tribute show. Watching Lance Archer, not only him come out dressed as Luke Harper or as OG Brodie Lee back in the day.
Yes.
But then like doing a lot of the same. Like obviously Lance Archer has his moveset, but it's very much similar to Brodie Lee because it's, dangerous big man who can move. Yeah. Doing old school on the bouncing on the ropes, doing some dives, doing all these moves. And so I think, it would just be such a brutal match of, and I think then the Dark Order 100% would get involved, but then that's a great chance for Hangman to fight back and
for the friends that Hangman has made again, the acquaintances and the wrestlers whom he regained trust with to come back and help him.
Yeah, I mean, it's there could definitely be a spot there, especially if say Stu and Uno are feuding with someone. It's a very typical thing for the good guy to have to overcome so much and no one comes out to help them. Like no one came out to help Cody because it's the thing of like, no, he has to either prove himself or lose trying. But maybe it'd be a really emotional thing of like the Bucks come out and help Hangman. And that's sort of
we can do anything here. We are not bound by rules or anything like that, but
having
previous booking. Yeah,
having them come in and just help fight off like Stu and Uno or 5 and 10.
They wouldn't they wouldn't be in the ring. They would just be making sure that nobody can do anything too drastic to alter the results of the match.
And just so that then it's kind of this thing of like, you know what, after everything that you've done, we finally forgive you, we accept you, and like that's him kind of coming back into the elite.
Yeah. And faces can have friends.
I know. Faces should have friends.
It makes sense for them to have friends, and we have been inundated with the idea from previous bookings.
Heels will come down and help each other anytime, but that
Yeah.
a face will just be in the middle of the ring and just getting the crap kicked out of them by like 4 people, and no one's gonna come out and help them.
Well, it's like Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns
Yeah.
in their big old match that was on the last pay-per-view. It's like, oh, okay, well, Jey Uso is gonna help Roman just win the entire match essentially.
Yeah.
But like, not one person is like, hey, Kevin Owens is getting hit with the chair right now.
I'm gonna come out and
maybe
help KO.
Yeah, maybe I could just come out and stop Jey Uso from hitting Kevin Owens with the chair. So I think it's appropriate, especially in this scenario that we've generated, that somebody can come down to help Hangman to make sure that it's a fair fight, and then we have to get to the end. Who are we going to put over here?
I mean, it's going to be Hangman.
Because I think in true Brodie Lee fashion, as a man and as a performer and as his character even, like, he'll put over anybody.
It's about in terms of the wrestling, it's putting over the next big thing. It's putting over the person that is going to deservedly take the next step. And so it was like, like he only lost twice in AEW. He lost to Moxley. I think that helps cement, like, Moxley's wins all were about cementing him as like the champion. And also I think it was this thing of like, only 3 people have held the AEW championship. Only 3 people have held the TNT championship. They're not about having hot potato titles. I mean, you could. I would personally would kind of say that FTR's reign as the tag team titles was really short, too short. But compared to the other titles, it felt really short. But like, AEW wants to make sure that champions feel like champions, and so you have Jericho, Moxley, now Omega, because they're the stars. Then you have Cody, Brodie, and Darby, and like, that's the whole point. Is like,
they all end with Y.
Well, no, Brodie's I.
Well, they all sound alike.
But yeah, it's all about putting over, like, that's his role, and he knows his role. He knows that I'm like, you look at him and you go, how can he lose to anyone? And the people that do lose to, that he does lose to, is purposeful. It's meant to then propel them. And so that's why then it would be Hangman, and that would then hopefully lead Hangman towards eventually feuding with Kenny. And who knows if he'd win, who knows if he wouldn't, but it would put him in that main event picture. It would tie this long, drawn-out, year-long story of Kenny and Hangman. And so...
And Hangman with the Dark Order.
But so... And it would obviously be like, the finish would... Obviously, it has to be a buckshot lariat. But it would definitely be... It would have to be like, it looks as though like he's really like that Brodie's gonna hit him with the discus lariat. Brodie would 100% get that. I don't know what it's called, but it's the swinging slam thing. That's such a good move too. That looks
Yeah.
So dangerous.
I forget what it's called, but I know exactly what
you would have, like, I think he would go for the buckshot, or no, he'd go for the discus. And then I think that then would allow Hangman to then, because he can't go through the ropes because they're tied to each other, he'd have to jump over the rope, turn around, slingshot himself, flip, boom, into the buckshot, and 1, 2, 3, everybody loses their mind.
Hangman has another finisher, right?
Yeah, I don't really know what it is.
I'm gonna find out right now. Because I think it will be effective for him to hit the buckshot, but it's like it's not quite strong enough, you know? And then he would get, what is this? The arm trap reverse STO. Oh, the Deadeye. It's according to ProWrestlingFandom.com, it's the kneeling back to belly pile driver. So yeah, and that would be really impressive.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he hits him with the buckshot, and then he puts him up in the position for the Deadeye and goes, "Go!"
Oh yeah, yeah. And I know. I remember what it is. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So that would do it. I think that that would really do it. Like just being able to knock down this giant with this huge buckshot lariat, but then to hit him with the Deadeye, just like, oh!
Or imagine if Hangman hits him with the buckshot lariat, Brodie kicks out.
Yeah.
What's Hangman gonna do? And then they go for a little bit more. They get into the corner. It looks like Brodie's gonna set him up for like an avalanche, like power bomb or something like that. But then Hangman reverses it and like gets Brodie onto his back, and then he does an avalanche
Deadeye. Ooh!
And it's like there's no way he kicks out of that.
Oh,
and then
you're
it's
not
also
getting up after that.
And then it's also like, yeah, Brodie was one of the only people to ever kick out of the buckshot lariat. It makes sense. It's Brodie friggin' Lee.
Yeah.
But then like no one's gonna kick out of that, so it makes sense. And then it just makes Hangman look super powerful. So.
Oh yeah, that's crazy to like hoist the dude up that size into that position for an avalanche Deadeye. Ooh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd mark out for that like crazy. I'd pop huge. It would just like, just the sound that it would make as they both hit the ring would be like.
But I think that would be that, and then I think that would propel Hangman towards the main title.
Agreed.
Picture.
Agreed. So, yep.
I like that. That was good. That was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting how like, yeah, it's Brodie Lee was the character was, I think he was just getting started.
Yeah.
And like, and it's really interesting to hear people talk about how like his run in AEW, people that knew him really well saw that he was really happy. I mean, because he took a big chance leaving WWE.
Yeah.
To creatively feel fulfilled, and like knowing that he had more potential than what WWE was allowing him, and he proved it. He did. He 100% proved it, and I think he was just getting started. It's really sad that we won't get to see him perform anymore. But yeah, I think that I think he eventually would have gotten to the world title picture.
I agree. Yeah, I think they would have kept building him up to be the big guy, the monster, and
in a perfect world, I just imagine Dark Order fulfilling a golden prophecy. Oh
yeah,
Brodie.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Brodie as world champ.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who would be TNT champion. Maybe it'd be Colt. That could be interesting. Or it could have been Evil. It could have been Uno or Grayson. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe they would have been tag team champions.
John Silver would be the
Silver as
he would be the TNT champion.
TNT
and
champion.
Uno and Grayson would be the tag champs.
Yeah,
and Anna Jay, the Queen, would be the AEW Women's Champion.
Queen Slayer, the great one. That was like a really emotional story when I found out about how she got 99. Did you hear about that story? It was on
not exactly.
So on AEW's Unrestricted podcast, and that's the podcast that's hosted by Tony Schiavone and Aubrey Edwards. They talk to wrestlers, and it's a complete like behind the scenes, no kayfabe. Let's talk about like how you became a wrestler, your feud so far, like all this sort of stuff. And they had Brodie Lee on, and what's really sad is like that was like the last thing that he did before he got sick.
Right.
And they're talking about members of the Dark Order, and they talk about Anna Jay, and he says Anna Jay's number was the only one that I had any like hands in, and I wanted her to be named 99 because that was Wayne Gretzky's number. Yeah. And Brodie Lee, Jon Huber, was a massive hockey fan. Huge Maple Leafs fan.
Yeah, big Leafs guy.
Big Leafs guy.
Lots of Maple Leaf slander last night on the tribute episode with Chris Jericho slandering the Maple Leafs.
That's because he's from Winnipeg and all that stuff. But so
and his dad played in the NHL. And
played for the Rangers. But so he named her 99 because of Wayne Gretzky and instilling into her she will be the great one. Which, she's getting better every single match she performs. She looked awesome. She looked awesome last night. And you could tell it was a really emotional night for her, which was
her and Tay are really good. Tay is like it's a nice team. Like I think they have like a really cool, from what it seems like a really cool friendship outside of the ring, and they're elevating each other, and everybody in the Dark Order is elevating each other right now. And especially after this, like it's going to be so hard for AEW to book any heel storylines with the Dark Order because it's going to be impossible to boo them because they're so over now as baby faces, and that's like them as individual members, and because of the episode last night they put them over huge, and maybe in the greater sort of picture of the stories that are going on in the world of AEW, maybe that's not exactly canon, but it showed that like a lot of their members can carry forward storyline and are main event players.
Yeah, I mean it's like just as a little not really side tangent, but as like just talking about this, like even a couple weeks ago, or was it might have just been last week, like the match that Hangman, Silver, and Reynolds had against Private Party and Matt Hardy, like they lost in that match, but like it was also helping to sow the seeds of Matt Hardy and Private Party turning heel. Mm-hmm. And like, so I think that they realized like everybody loves these guys. And like even last night they had TJ go up against Britt Baker and Penelope Ford, who are two established heels in the women's division. So it's like, I think that they realize like, no, people love these guys, and you can't like, I think that it's just going to be this like fun gray area of like, they're a group and they're kind of dastardly, but like everybody loves them.
They're so over on the internet, I guess, like just within the internet wrestling community. They're so over, which is crazy because when AEW first started and the Dark Order storyline,
Dark Order sucked. Dark Order was horrible.
When they had like the creepers and stuff, like people were like, "What is this?"
Yeah, no, I felt so bad for Stu and Uno because like you could tell like they were trying to build something there, it just wasn't really working. And I think as soon as BTE started, that was really helpful. And then the second that Brodie Lee joined, it made everything legit.
As they slowly started to add people, it was like it started to make a lot more sense. Like when they got Silver and Reynolds, it was like, oh, they have like lackeys now, like guys that like, we've seen them before, but now they're a part of the Dark Order. Then when when the Exalted One was revealed, it was such a big deal. And
I feel
it really
so,
gave gravitas to
yeah.
the faction.
Yeah, and I feel so bad that like he was supposed to debut in his hometown.
Yeah.
But that was like the very beginning of COVID. And I realized last night, I was like, holy shit. The entire time that Brodie Lee and Matt Hardy have been, because they debuted the same night.
Yes.
The entire time that they were on AEW, or have been on AEW, has been in this empty arena era. That's crazy.
But that's like pretty much the entirety of Dynamite and AEW pay-per-view sort of is like this like first big year of AEW has been in the pandemic era as we know it so far. And I'm excited to see when things get back to normal, because they will. I believe it. When things return to a semblance of normalcy, when we can go to wrestling shows again, when we can go see our favorite performers, do what they love in the ring, and when we can boo them, we can cheer them, we can chant. That's going to be amazing, and I look forward to that and seeing all of the talents be able to do what they love.
But it's hard to sort of transition off of that, but I think it's just to say, if you're listening right now, and there's ever been a dream match now, especially that you wish you have seen Brodie Lee gotten into, please let us know online or in the comments, and because those are fun to see who they would have gone against. And it's crazy that then hear the stories from AEW stars like Lance Archer, like Darby Allin, who all said like he was like the first person on my list, like I wish I could have gotten to him. So there's a lot of there was a lot of potential there. And again, just to kind of close out, we don't really have an episode or a question for this episode, and I guess we'll use our match recommendation of the week to sort of tie this all together. Is remembering Brodie Lee, remembering Jon Huber for the man he was and the entertainer that he was. I guess then the question and the match recommendation that we can use is, what's your favorite Brodie Lee match or Luke Harper match / favorite moment? And then that we'll use that as our please go watch this, because he was a great performer. So I guess I'll go first, because we'll use yours as our recommendation. But honestly, like, I don't really have a favorite match of Brodie Lee, but I guess if I were to pick one, I would say him versus Cody. When he beat Cody, he beat Cody's undefeated streak. He got the TNT title. He destroyed Cody.
He absolutely crushed him.
It was a squash.
Yes.
And it just went to prove how much of a monster he was, how powerful he was, and like just to cement him into winning a singles title after all the crap that he went through with WWE, and like showing like he has a future to become something big, and he was big, and this was just like proving like, no, he's here. And to have Cody then like say like, no, like, yeah, we're gonna put you over hard. I'm gonna be the first, or you're gonna be the first person that's ever pinned me on AEW or this year or whatever, or in this title run of being TNT champion. Like, that is huge. But in terms of favorite moment, I mean, like I said, just go watch BTE. Like, that one of the greatest moments in BTE, I'll pick out a specific one, is when Sue, Trent's mom, was on BTE, and it was after the whole Sue showing up for the first time on Dynamite and everything like that. But it was this whole thing where like John Silver and Alex Reynolds like steal Brodie Lee's coat. They pretend to be him by Silver putting or Reynolds putting Silver on his shoulders and them acting like that. Then Brodie Lee shows up with Sue. Sue gives the guys gives the Dark Order members lunch, and they're all like, they all turn to like kids who are like, "Oh, thanks, Sue. We love you. Bye." And then Sue leaves, and then Brodie grabs Silver's lunch, takes it, and throws it on the ground. And then Sue comes back in, and Brodie's like, "He fucking hates your food, Sue. He said so himself. Look what he did to it." Sue, and he hands Sue a rolled up piece of paper, and is like, "Sue, you gotta punish him." And then she like goes to throw the papers, and then she accidentally throws them on the floor, and you see
straight to the ground.
You see Brodie break for a quick second, where he's like, he just laughs for a quick second. He's like, "No, do it again, Sue. Throw him at his stupid fucking face." And that's one of my favorite moments, just because it was just, you could just see him having fun with it. And like, and yeah, just all those moments of them, like just being absolute goofballs together is so fun. It's so fun.
Agreed.
What's yours?
In terms of
favorite match, what people should go watch, or your favorite moment of Brodie Lee, Luke Harper.
Well, my introduction to Mr. Brodie Lee was as his character Luke Harper, as a part of the Wyatt family. And my favorite match and favorite moments of Mr. Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, were when he was feuding with Randy Orton, and when Bray was feuding with Randy Orton. And for a moment, you thought that the WWE was really putting Luke Harper over. So that match, what did we say it was? It was Luke Harper versus
Chamber?
Yes, Randy Orton at Elimination Chamber. It was my favorite Luke Harper match, and it was awesome. It showed so much promise, and we really thought for a moment that he was going over. And man, he was such a dynamic performer, and even as the Bludgeon Brothers, when the Bludgeon Brothers debuted, I was like, "This is gonna be awesome." Yeah,
that was definitely silly, but they're two big dudes in WWE. What does WWE do? But let's give them hammers.
They just, and their like tag team finisher was like this like sort of like 2-person razor's edge, and it was like it spiked them. They spike people down, and even though his run in the WWE didn't end well, let's say it wasn't, he didn't have a ceremonious exit from the company, I still enjoyed all the moments I got to see him perform in the ring. And watching that Elimination Chamber match with Randy Orton, you really saw something. And I'm so happy that he got to go to AEW and prove to everybody that he was a main event player. And
if you want to have a good cry, I also suggest watching, if you can, I don't know if it's on YouTube, but it's definitely actually it might be on YouTube, WWE's formerly known as series, where they talk to wrestlers. They did it with Brodie Lee. They did it with Ruby Riott. They did it with Seth Rollins, where it's them talking about their upbringing and when they got into wrestling. And it's called Formerly Known As because it's about like their indie personas and then coming into WWE and all that. And his episode, when I first watched it, it was a while ago, but it was so touching because he talks about his family a lot, him kind of coming into the industry. And that was, I think that episode came out around the time where like you thought he was going to get to come back or something. And like he had a match at Worlds Collide against Dijakovic, I think. And he cuts this like really heartfelt promo about like following your dream and continuing to try hard. And it was this sort of thing of like, I think he kind of got free reign on it, where you just also questioning like, if I can't do this, should I even be in this industry? And you're like, you're one of the best performers the company has. Why are they doing this to you? But yeah, watching that, him talking about his past, talking about, and getting to see all that old footage of like him as the OG Brodie Lee, starting to figure out his method as a wrestler. It was really, really cool. So also go watch that. But yeah, I think we're going to call that as the episode. I guess the final main thing is just thank you, Brodie Lee.
Yeah.
Condolences to everyone that knew him as a friend, his family. Thank you, AEW, for seeing his potential, seeing what he could do, giving him the platform, but then more importantly, showing the true heart of the wrestling community by not being heartless in this time and supporting his family, giving them everything that they need and being there for them, and not just shutting them out after he's gone. And the whole tribute show was amazing, but more importantly, like having the class to be a company that has heart, and cares for the people that work for them.
Yeah. It's a beautiful show and a really wonderful way to honor this man's memory and his life and everything that he gave to entertain and to this sport, this art form of professional wrestling. I definitely want to say thank you, Mr. Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, Jon Huber. He changed the game, and we're gonna miss you as fans, and we'll
never forget you.
We'll never forget you.
No. But yeah, that does it here for us at Book Events. Again, if you want to check out anything that we do, please just follow us online. You can check us out on our social media at UE_films. You can follow myself personally at Barton_Minute, and you can follow Anthony Hall
at Hall and Jokes on Instagram and Twitter.
And if you have people in your life that you really care about, tell them that you love them.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Life's crazy, and you never know when someone really important will leave it too quickly. Mm-hmm. Go watch some wrestling. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Be safe. And we'll see you next time.
Dark Order forever, baby.